Welcome to Beyond Lithium's Geochat episode number 2. We decided to do these periodic Geochats to help investors understand the exploration process particularly for lithium, because that's what we're going after. At the same time, to give an update on where we're at with our projects. And for this episode, we decided to ask retail investors who follow us or follow other lithium companies to submit some questions. We receive many questions, and we thank everybody for that. And what I did is I put them in 4 categories. So I'm not going to go through each question, but they're very all of the questions really focus on 4 different topics, and they're as follows. One is exploration, drilling. What are the immediate next steps for Beyond Lithium? The second one talks about the production process, various companies planning on what are you going to do with the lithium when it's extracted out of the ground in Ontario, particularly. The third one is about infrastructure of the surrounding areas around particularly our spodumene discoveries at Ear Falls, Victory. And of course, we're going to talk about Cosgrave a little bit. And the last one is future funding, which might include flow-through, JVs, and so on and so forth. So before we get going, just a reminder, I'm a co-founder of Beyond Lithium. I'm an advisor to the company. And the 3 main participants here are Allan, who's the president and CEO of the company, Tsang, who's our VP Exploration, and Graeme Evans, who's a senior geologist advisor to us all at Beyond Lithium. He's been on site many times with us. So let's get into it, and I'm going to start with you, Al. If you could please give your thoughts on what has been accomplished to date in 6 short months at Beyond Lithium, and where do we go next?
Thanks, Alain. Yeah, we've had a remarkable year with Beyond Lithium. We raised about $1.4 million in flow through, and Lawrence basically budgeted it out, and actually everything's coming in on time and on budget. So that's the first thing I'd like to say. The work done in the field has been extraordinary. I think everybody gave it a little extra because we've had some phenomenal accomplishments. The 3 most obvious ones are Victory, Ear Falls, and Cosgrave, which we've announced and expounded on to great detail. Those projects are awesome, but we can't forget that we have actually advanced 18 projects into phase 2. So, there's quite a few other projects that we haven't done such extensive work or had that early good fortune that we have on the 3 that I mentioned. So I think it's quite phenomenal. The field season is drawing to a close right now, weather-wise and seasonally. We have accomplished everything we set out to do with extraordinary results. We still have 2023 season for us is not finished, though, because even though the field is shutting down, we still have lots of stuff coming back from the lab. We've got over 400 samples, which are grabs and other samples from the properties, including some of the sections that we've cut. And then we have over 200 samples coming from the Winky program that we just finished at Ear Falls. So there's a lot left for us to do. We need to take all of those data points and put them into the data bank, do a full compilation, which will allow us to seriously and professionally look at JVs and other things, and allow us to get our minds together and strike up the program for 2024. So there's the overview. We recently raised a little over $900,000 in hard dollars, not to be confused with flow-through dollars, but we'll get into that a little deeper later on. So there's your 35,000-foot view of the company. Very successful year. We're all extremely happy for all of our accomplishments.
Thank you very much, Al. So my second question will go to you, Lawrence, and it's the first major topic I mentioned, which is exploration / winter drilling. So shareholders or followers of Beyond Lithium will know that we have made two significant spodumene discoveries. One we have sampled and drilled. The other one has been sampled quite considerably. As Al said, hundreds of samples in the lab, and we're waiting for the results from those. And a lot of the questions, rightly, I would say, address the next step, which is drilling. Where are you going to drill? How many meters? What's the objective? And so on and so forth. And so, Lawrence, my question would be as follows. So you as the VP Exploration, you get all of that data. Then what do you do with that? And how do you plan drilling? And what are some of the things that that you have in mind that you'd want to share with our investors?
Right. So I think once we got the data and within the technical team, I think we were gonna do more technical review, compile the data, plot them up, and look at the fractionation trend. And also, we've done some detailed mappings at Victory and Air Force, and also Cosgrave. And we want to plot up and have a better understanding of any trend that we could delineate from all the data. And I gotta say, for Air Force and Victory, we are early stage, but we have success of finding and locating the spodumene locations. I think that's a good starting point of what we have. But more importantly, I think it's the exploration trend that we both have at the Air Force and Victory that give us that hype and excitement that we want to continue our exploration program at both of the projects. And those point or location that we have located the spodumene pegmatites, I think they are the starting points that we want to have at both projects. But at the same time, we're going to continue to do that, carry out that regional exploration. So the data that after we collect that, yes, we have a starting point where we can do the drilling to start from. But at the same time, we're going to utilize that all the data that we collected from mapping, sampling, geochem, fractionation trend, etc., to help us guide us where do we continue to step out and expand the system. And I think we just at the tip of the iceberg. Have we found the main part or the widest part or the hottest part of the system yet? I don't think so. So I think with all the geochem data and the mapping that we are doing and collecting will help us get to maybe the hotter part of the system.
So if I may summarize, and I know you're thinking, and so I'm actually summarizing it for our viewers here, but so would it be fair to say that it might be premature to answer some of the most specific questions about the number of meters and the exact location?
Yeah, I would say, yeah, the exact location, the meters, I think it will be open discussion through the season. I think that's what geologists and what a field program should run like. When we hit something that we see, okay, that is very more spectacular, more exciting, maybe we could put more drilling in that area. But areas that are weaker, maybe we can skip over or something like that. So I think it's a ongoing discussion that we're going to carry out through the season as we move forward. But I think we have a starting point. We want to start our drilling season. For our next program, we've located where we want to start, but how we're going to expand, I think we're going to, once we get all the data, we're going to slowly start to expand from the starting point and incorporate all those data we collected to guide us. How do we expand the system?
Thank you, Lawrence. Graeme, I'm going to go to you. As a group, we've had some fascinating discussions, either over dinner or in the field or driving several hours together to go to a particular project. And one aspect of what you have mentioned, which kind of ties in with the whole drilling program that Lawrence is talking about, is the significance of the visuals when you're looking for lithium, right? I know investors will have been cautioned about drawing too many conclusions about looking at drilling cores as an example, but could you give your thoughts on the importance of visual to what as it relates to what we're trying to achieve here at Beyond Lithium?
Yeah, it's a good question, Alain, and you're right. People are cautioned on grades, and we'll always be cautious on grades. But the beauty of lithium and spodumene is it's a visual thing. You know when you're in a lithium higher grade system. You don't know the grade, whether it's 1% or 4%, but you know you're in economic grades. It's the same as like copper porphyries. You don't estimate the copper grade, but you know when you're in a good porphyry system. So it's a real advantage. You don't have to wait like with gold. You have to wait the 6 or 8 weeks to get your assays back to say, yeah, it's ore or not, or you can visually trench something or drill something and you get a pretty good feel right off the top. So it really speeds up your field decisions and planning. And so it's a real advantage to lithium systems.
And how would that translate specifically to what Lawrence and his teams are doing? I mean, you have been through these discoveries. Can you comment on that and the drilling and how you feel about the next phases?
Yeah, it's pretty early, as Lawrence says, so we're going to have to finalize it. I think you kind of do a little bit of both. Everybody always wants to go drilling sooner. We have good drill targets on both Victory and Ear Falls, but to me, the most exciting thing is we've at a very early stage on both those projects have discovered probably what's ore grade lithium exposures, but there may be only 1% of the lithium field. And it goes back to what Lawrence was saying. I think the real blue sky here right now is that exploration outboard. I mean, just statistically, if you only see 1% of the system, what's the chances that's the best part of the system? I wouldn't bet on that being the mother lode, and it's going to weaken after that. So I think the biggest blue sky potential here right now is expanding these belts.
Thank you. We're going to move on to the next topic, which is production. People are talking a lot about, where's the ore going to get treated? The lithium let's stick to Ontario where we are. But before I get to that specifically, I want to ask our CEO, Al, to comment on the business plan of the company. So Al, as our shareholders would know, was a stockbroker for 47 years and has financed exploration companies, and I know for a fact that Al's vision for the company is not to transition from exploration to building a mine. So can you comment on that, please, Al?
Yeah, thank you. It's a good point because a lot of people ask me and you too, I'm sure, how you plan to exploit this and what kind of a production facility and what are you going to do? Well, I'm here to tell you that if you go into production, it's a totally different skill set. It takes a half a lifetime to get it done. I'm exaggerating a bit, but you can figure on a decade from start to finish. You can also factor in some pretty extreme dilution along the way because you've just got to go through all the parts here. So what I'm trying to tell you is we're not going to build a mine. Our company goal is to build up assets, significant assets and resources to attract others that are mine builders, to work with us and take over our projects, either through a direct takeover or through some other JV type of thing. So we don't want to go through that dilution and through all that long piece. So we're explorers. There isn't anybody on this call that isn't an explorer, and I don't think there's anybody here that could tell you they'd like to build a mine, unless they're a masochist. So we just don't want to go there. We simply don't. So right now we've got a great head start. If we are careful with how we spend our money in exploration, as Lawrence and Graeme are suggesting, we can get to that point, I think, in fairly short order. We will obviously, once we figure out our program for 2024, we'll do flow-through financings, which are in Canada for these battery metals are really extremely good. They're so attractive, you almost get a check if you say you'll buy one, from the government. So we're really keen on that. We don't know those numbers yet. Our recent financing, the hard dollar financing, is for different reasons other than exploration, because they don't qualify for flow through. You've got property expenditures, not expenditures, sorry, but property payments, to vendors and other IR work. Like, for example, even this program we're doing today costs some money. So that's what the hard dollars are all about. But I think our vision is to continue to explore as prudently and effectively and as quickly as we can, get the maximum results from an exploration potential and perspective, and try to see where that takes us towards the end of 2024 or sooner. So I'm very optimistic. We've got all the goods, we've got all the talent. And so far, we've been fortunate in our money raising campaigns. They've worked out quite well. So I think that's probably the answer that you're looking for.
Thank you. So I guess that ties in with the third topic, which is infrastructure. So I'll go to you first, Lawrence, and tie the comments from Al to this is so while we don't want to build mines, we want to, as you said, we either going to sell the company to somebody who wants to build a mine or sell the assets. Now, that person, or sorry, I should say that company, obviously they're going to look at infrastructure, where we're at, and the significance of where the assets are likely, and there'll be a direct correlation of these positives regarding infrastructure to the price they're going to pay, and and if they want to deal with us in the first place. A while back, Lawrence, you came up with this concept of presenting some of our discoveries into this 100-kilometer radius. Some people would know that Victory is by the Trans-Canada Highway. And then there's a lot of talk in the questions, and I want to be specific addressing that point, which is, and then people asking the question, they obviously think rightly about PMET, 100 million tons, and so on and so forth. And some people might view, well, if you can get 10 or 20 or 50 million tons, is it worth it, and so on and so forth. So I know you've done a little bit of analysis of what's going on in terms of deposits in Ontario. So if you could talk about the size of some of our peers and how that translates to the whole infrastructure discussion that I was mentioning.
Yes, sounds good. Thanks, Alain. I would say infrastructure is very important. I would say it's important both for exploration and even for development company. From exploration and for having great infrastructures, our all-in exploration costs will be much lower for all the program, from drilling, from even mapping, from anything. And then from a longer terms point of view, from the development or even company who's interested to develop a district, infrastructure definitely plays an even bigger role to assess if that project could be economical or not, because it costs a lot of money to build extra roads or extra power lines or even any transportation pathway to your project sites. And when I look at the area play between Victory, Air Force, and also projects that we plan to advance to our phase 2 program around the Mavis Lake area, and I just drew out the radius is there within 100 kilometers of each other's, and I see that they all do have a great synergy together, because we are beyond ourselves. We almost basically build our own district, and I see that there's a great upside and potential that we could talk about. So I see from exploration point of view, we are building our own district. If we have our crew to work in that area, it's more cost effective for us to explore that district. At the same time, from a longer view perspective, for any company or any mine builders perspective from their mindset, this district will be has that advantage for that great infrastructure to connect all this project together. So that's why we started talking about this area. That's why beyond right now we want to focus at Victory and Air Force, and also Cosgrave is also not too far away. It's just a little bit further than 800 kilometers, but that's another project we want to focus on.
Graeme, I would like you to react to that.
pretty much what Lawrence was saying. The big thing is, it's even more fundamental than that. With lithium and needing the entire supply chain all the way down to the Li2 chemical plant, you really need this sort of hub and spoke model to work. And the two obvious areas in Canada for that are developing right now are Ontario and Quebec. And a real advantage to those systems and lithium deposits is going to be that infrastructure and access, because transportation is a big cost. Capital development costs have gone through the roof on everybody these days. So having power lines and highways and communities where your crews can live and a straightforward road or rail access to your chemical plants really make that hub and spoke model for Ontario work well. And location of all the Beyond's properties are kind of ideal for that. And all the people looking at Beyond from the 10,000 foot level are going to be thinking about those general framework that you need. So hope that answers your question.
Yes, thank you. And now I'm going to divert from what I said of bundling all the questions together, and I will ask. I'm actually read one of the questions, and I'm actually going to direct it to you, Graeme, because it's yeah, because you've been. I could direct it to Al or Lawrence, but you're the chosen one. Okay, so it's a question number 7, Graeme. So juniors often have trouble managing one project. How will Beyond be able to move 3 major discovery projects forward, Victory, Air Falls, Cosgrave, with limited funds? That one I would disagree with, but let's say staff, so limited staff. But I mean, this is also, you know what, I might disagree with that because it's easy to staff up, but let's leave it at that. And Graeme, what do you think? How can we manage everything that we've got?
Look backwards, Alain. Al and Lawrence literally joined the company weeks, if not during exploration in 2023, and covered 50 or 60 projects this year. So hats off to all you guys. The logistics of running 3 projects, if you have the budget for it, isn't particularly hard. There's a lot of advantages between location and the geology and the straightforward exploration to this whole thing. That, I mean, Lawrence has the luxury of having the winter to stew on this, but you know, Lawrence has dealt with big $20 million budgets before and that, so he's more than capable. So I actually have no concern that way. And like you say, you just staff up accordingly if you have the budget.
Lawrence, you want to add, or you?
Well, I can answer this kind of related to the question we just discussed about that location, Victory, Air Force, and Cosgrave. They are really in the proximity of some good cities and towns. So we do have good access. We have great place to accommodate our guys. So to get guys around to prospect in different areas, and also we have 8 projects that we want to move into phase 3 in the Mayfield Lake areas. So not very far away from Air Force and Victory. So if we just have to set up the accommodation, the team in the midst of it, and I think they can effectively prospect those projects at the same time while we progress, advance Air Force, Victory, and Cosgrave.
Thank you. So before we move to our last topic of JV and future funding, I have one other specific question which I'll address to you, Lawrence, which I think is a good one, and it refers specifically to Victory, and people have noticed on pictures and video that it's located just by a lake. Do you want to comment on that, if it has any impact on exploration, drilling, and future development?
Right. We have pictures, and I think now it's very accessible. You can go Google Earth or something. You can see, yeah, one of our pegmatites, yeah, it's next to a lake. But again, kind of related to the exploration. That's why we focus on the exploration. Yes, we have a good starting point, but we already identify a minimum of 6 kilometer exploration trend from the eastern end of the pegmatites connecting to this pegmatites on the western end. So we have a good starting point, but we will continue to find additional spodumene bearing pegmatites along this trend. And having that 6 kilometer strike length, I think we're going to find more. And then that's a good starting point for us to understand that geochem background and to under that fascination trend to guide us. Okay, if we get closer to the next one, what will it look like? I think that will really help us. So for the early work that we are doing at that pegmatite dikes next to a lake, will give us that good fundamental background to help us find more along this 6 kilometer exploration trend that we have every tree.
I like your use of the word starting point, Lawrence. Graeme, you might want to touch on that, right?
Yeah, it's like we've talked about before. It is just the starting point. Having said that, Alain, even when we were out there the first time, both Lawrence and I talked about the lake is an issue, but it's not a deal breaker. It's just you've got to factor that into, you can develop open pits on small lakes like that. It's just an added cost dealing with the groundwater. So I would still be totally up for drilling that showing area and developing the trends Lawrence is talking about. It's just something we need to be concerned about because that does affect you down the road.
Good. Thank you. All right. So this one's going to be between you and I, Al. We're going to talk about JVs and financing. I would like to remind our viewers that, so you were in the industry for 47 years. I personally started in 87. And one of the reasons you and I are business associates and good friends is that we're passionate about certain things. And one of the things that we're passionate about is not diluting for the sake of diluting. And we try to work smart. We raise the money that we need and raise a little bit more, and we do it in stages. So the company has access to 3 different types of financing. So and you touched on 2 of those, Al. One is flow through money, which is kind of readily available, and we're going to sit down, all of us, and map out next year's exploration. Now we'll know, once you know what you're trying to achieve from an exploration standpoint, then you know how much money you need to raise. The hard dollars, we just did a private placement, we can do more. But people are very interested in our business model of being a project generator. So you might want to talk about that and some of the factors, Al, that and where we're at. And, obviously we're not going to get into specifics of discussions, but and some of the factors that we look for in a JV. And, the number one factor being that we want to retain an interest because we want to expose our shareholders to as many discoveries as possible. So why don't I turn over to you and address this topic that's top of mind for people? And, will Beyond one day do, let's say, an option deal or option deals?
Well, we certainly intend to do deals because of the significant land holdings that we have. I don't think it's reasonable for us to be able to have aggressive exploration programs throughout all of our properties. We could, but it would be a much bigger expense and involve a lot more people. So one of the reasons for building the database is to gather enough technical information to have a professional discussion with interested parties in terms of JVs. So our idea would be which we're still building the database, by the way. So we haven't done anything yet because it's been a year of building a database to encourage people to work with us. So our idea would be to try to retain 25% carried interest, do the deal for cash, to cover our costs for acquisition and things like that, and any work we may have done, and some shares as well. So I would think over the next several months, we'll have all of those tools to properly address the JV situations. Suffice it to say, we have had a lot of interest. We haven't finalized things because I think most of the companies that have been looking are waiting for us to complete the database, which makes sense to me. So yes, it's an integral part of our program, brings in hard dollars, cuts down on costs, gives us upside potential through the shares in the companies if they have success on our JV properties, and gives shareholders more exposure. We wouldn't do JVs, for example, with companies that wanted us to go do all the work for them because it would somewhat defeat the purpose. So we expect to have news to make in the future on different JVs and different companies that we've been talking with, and I'm sure new ones that will come into play once we complete our database. So that's the answer for that. You know, we expect it's going to be an integral part of our go forward business.
Thank you, Al. And Graeme, something came up in my mind. I got to ask you. I'm dying to ask you. I want to
Go
talk
ahead.
to you about Cosgrave. Right.
Yep.
So we recently had a press release announcing our results, and as we step out from the Pluton, we've, at least in one grab sample, we've seen some interesting elevated lithium values. And Al and Lawrence made an interview earlier this week talking about how this sort of a textbook, Cosgrave's kind of a textbook example of how to look for lithium. And then we were lucky enough to find the Pluton. So I got to ask you, I'm dying to hear your answer on, you know, what does that mean to you, the latest results at Cosgrave, and how do you feel about the prospect for this project?
Yeah, I mean, you summed it up, Alain. It is textbook. We're doing the work the hard way that we said we were going to do, and follow the model out to its end member. And I've heard a few comments. So why are they talking about 0.28% lithium versus, 2% or 4% a year false? The quantitative number doesn't matter. What it is doing is we know Cosgrave is a highly fractionated system, and we've started the tough way by finding the roots of the system, and we're chasing it out. We're really happy about the size of the plumbing, the roots of the system. There's, tens of millions of tons of plumbing. And now we're starting to see, yes, it is fractionated into lithium. So the actual number doesn't matter. It just shows the process works. And I'm pretty upbeat about the potential there in 2024.
Thank you very much. Okay, well, thanks to all, especially thanks to those who have taken the time to send questions and those who are taking the time to listen to our second episode of Geochat. And we look forward to doing that again, if not before Christmas, right after the New Year's. Thank you very much.